Hello, everyone, and welcome to iReadit, bringing you your weekly dose of the internet, this time for October 21st. It is Sunday, and it is still actually fall in Alaska. Jennifer was reading some science stuff yesterday about why it is still actually fall. Apparently, there is like this bubble, or what was it called? It was called the blob, I think is what they were calling it. We have a lot of high-pressure systems in the area, and those are causing that everything around us to, like, it's the reason that there's such crazy weather in other places, like how parts of Canada just got nailed by tornadoes, and there's like cold pockets down in the lower 48. But Alaska, nope, we're great here. We are doing just fine. Don't worry about us. It's all nice and warm. It's been like 50 degrees. It's just been rainy every now and again. Like I said, it's been an actual fall. That's been cool. I need to see if I can zoom out my camera just a bit. This normally works quite well for when there are two of us, but when there is only one, it's a little close to my face. A little close to my face. Let's go ahead and click. That's good enough. That's as far as it will go. But you know what? It's good enough. I don't feel like we're getting a little too personal. So I don't know where Nathan is. It's even an hour and 15 minutes past when we normally start this show, and I don't know where Nathan is. If I had to guess, he is probably asleep. He went to Book of Mormon last night, which I hope that he had a good time there, and I have not heard from him. I have messaged him. I guess I didn't try and call him, but due to other problems, I was busy trying to make sure that the show could happen at all. Well, the show is happening, and I am here, and we will be discussing some news. My normal little warning for when I am solo is that if you are listening to the video version, the live version, if you're watching it on Facebook or YouTube and you do not see me, well, the reason that you might hear a long pause is because I need a drink of water. Got to drink that water, got to stay hydrated, keep the vocal cords nice and moist. And I apologize for anyone who hates that word. Anyway, so I am here. It has been one interesting week. Most of Alaska had well, I don't know about most of Alaska. Parts of Alaska got to take the day off on Thursday, as it was Alaska Day. So that was cool. Got to take the day off. I will talk more about the excitement that I went through on that day as my thing of the day later today. And otherwise, we are just going to jump right into the news because, yeah, I don't have anything else to talk about. I can't ask Nathan how his week went, even though it's probably the same, although I would ask him how Book of Mormon went, but he's not here, so fine. We will do things. We'll do things without him.
10.
Putin ordered Novichok assassin to murder British spy behind Trump sex dossier. So this is more of just an additional piece of information regarding a story that we already knew about. So we had already spoken about the individuals behind the nerve agent that has been being used by Russian KGB operatives to assassinate people around the globe. There was the two people, Sergei Skripal and his daughter Yulia, as well as I forget what the other gentleman's name was. And anyway. And so what ended up coming across is we finally, one, found out, yes, it was Russia. Two, we found out which Russian agent did it. It was a guy who had been going by the name, what was his cover-up name? Alexander Petrov, but his actual name is Alexander Mishkin. We found out that it was him, and according to a now defector of the KGB, Boris Karpichkov, it was a direct order from Putin to assassinate these people because it was harming relationships with the United States. It was making Trump look bad. Sucks to suck, bro. Maybe if you all weren't such shitty people, don't assassinate me. Of course, I don't think you care if someone says you're a shitty person. I think you just laugh at them, roll in your money, and continue to do whatever the fuck you want because not a whole lot of anything that anyone can do about it. Coffee. But, that said, you guys suck. Seriously. Like, it's really interesting to me when, like, doing this show, and because I stayed somewhat on top of things before me and Nathan started iReadit. And now that I do iReadit and I'm constantly reading, it just is interesting how apparent it becomes of the state of the world. And people think that the world has become such a terrible place. And the interesting part about that is like, no, it's always been this shit-tastic place. This stuff always happened. The only difference now is we have millions and millions and millions of phones and cameras and recordings and journalists and people that are able to get this information all the way across the globe. So we just know about it now. And that's the other thing, is that we just know about it. We're like, hey, you're shitty people. And they're like, always been shitty. Gonna do this anyway. Goodbye. And we're like, no, stop being shitty. They're like, what? No, this isn't how this works. I don't think you understand. Shitty person, kill who I want, do what I want. I'm gonna go this way. And then they walk away, and you're left there dumbfounded. Like, what am I supposed to do? Become a shitty person? Yeah, well, maybe. That's what we used to do. Rise up with pitchforks and burn down the oligarchy. Don't do that. Don't do that. It's frowned upon. Kobe in the chat room says, nice hat. Thank you. So I've talked about Ruby a couple times over the last couple of weeks. And real quick, I'll mention it once again. For those that can't see, I am wearing a Ruby hat. It is white, black letters say Ruby, and it does have Ruby rose that kind of stretches around the hat, along with a bunch of rose petals. Anyway, I had only watched the first 2 seasons, and I hadn't got around to watching any more of it. And I just lost track of the show, but I still liked it. I love Monty Oum's work, and so I'd always picked up hats and stuff like that for Ruby. I have 2 different hats for Ruby. And then finally I was like, you know what? I'd support the show. I should actually fucking watch it. and also, I mean, like, it was a pretty hard blow to me when Monty Oum passed away in 2015, which Monty Oum passed away halfway through season 3, which I'm about halfway through season 4 at this point. But he passed away halfway through season 3 in 2015. And that was a really hard moment for me. Like, like when certain celebrities have passed away, like, they didn't affect me as much as like when Monty Oum did. One, because I had seen Monty Oum rise from just being like this like in-house animator to being a recognized entity on a more global scale. I mean, Ruby's won several awards for its animation. And the thing that like, it made me sad because I had watched so much of his over the years and enjoyed so much of his work, and he was such a good person that it really hurt me when he died, because I felt as though the world lost a very powerful creator in a space that had become very normalized. And so it was a moment for me, and I still miss his work even in the end of season 3 and going into season 4. It is incredibly apparent that Monty Oum is not there. Like, while the animation style is still the same, the action style has significantly changed, because no one does Monty Oum like Monty Oum. Like, I've been watching him for, I don't know, when the first episode of like Red versus Blue or Dead Fantasy come out. Like, those shows are ancient and parts of the beginning ages of the internet, and he was the creators behind them. So anyway, on to the actual news. There's not much else to say besides that we just know now that Putin ordered him dead, which I think everyone already guessed that. Like, I mean, Putin's saying he didn't do it, but of course he's going to say he didn't do it. He said that he fired the leader of the KGB, and the KGB is now going to be run by the FSB, and they're appointing a new guy to the FSB. So, yeah, welcome to Russia. Nothing's changing there.
9.
Rihanna turned down this year's Super Bowl halftime show in support of Colin Kaepernick. So, Rihanna, a fellow, not fellow to me, fellow to Colin Kaepernick, person of color, she has declined to perform at the Super Bowl 53 halftime show because, well, she is not a large supporter of football right now. Colin Kaepernick, which started the entire kneeling during the anthem movement, which, real quick side note, can we just take a moment and look back at history and see that kneeling has never, ever in the history of humanity been used as an act of disrespect. Instead, it's always been an act of massive respect. Like, you kneel before emperors, you kneel before kings, you kneel before leaders, generals, you kneel before the people that you respect and honor. You do not kneel in dishonor. Fuck you guys. Anyway, so since he started the whole kneeling movement in the NFL, he has had a hard time getting work. He's a talented NFL player, yet has not been on a single team in a single game since 2017. And everyone's like, well, why not? And he's currently actually in a legal battle with the NFL because he believes that the NFL as an organization, at least the individual teams within it, are colluding against him to keep him out because of the appearance that he gives off. Like, you are trying to silence him for doing an honorable act in regards to something that is a very real problem, which is racial injustice, police brutality, etc. If you don't believe it's real, I don't know how to help you believe it's real beyond holy fuck. But yeah, so Rihanna, after seeing all this go on, they came to approach Rihanna, which, like, on a personal note, like, one, good job, power to you. I fully support your decision to not perform at the halftime show. However, I really like Rihanna a lot, so I would have loved to see her halftime show because I'm sure it would have been incredible. And so Maroon 5 has taken the halftime show, and I give no fucks about them. So, I mean, I enjoy some of their songs. Like, they definitely have, like, you know, really, like, poppy music that makes you want to dance and bounce your head around and shit. But it's not Rihanna. So, like, on that side of things, I'm sad. But not sad enough that I hold her responsible at fault on any level. Because, yeah, absolutely. So, no Rihanna at this year's Super Bowl. Instead, you will be watching Maroon 5. Which, if you're a super Maroon 5 fan, I'm sure you're excited about that. Enjoy.
8.
And UK, man, people, work on your grammar. A UK, I mean, I guess, okay. No, I fucking hate grammar sometimes. And UK, because it's a vowel after the word a, but at the same time, that does not sound. And United Kingdom, no. That's a name. Fuck. A United Kingdom police force that shot its own race relations advisor with a stun gun in 2017 after mistaking him for a wanted man has once again confused him for the very same person. It's not exactly once again, but anyway. So there is this guy who is a black man with he looks awesome. And let me see if I can't get a picture of him up on the screen. Give me just a moment. I'll get it on there. Anyway, this guy looks incredible. I need to save this picture to desktop, and then I will put it onto the video for people to see. Anyway, so this guy looks awesome. And I'm sorry, I'm still trying to get this on the screen so that people can see it, because I at least I think he looks awesome. There we go. There we go. So he's a black man. He's got these long, big, fat dreads, but his hair has gone gray. So he's got these big, super long gray dreads. Dude looks awesome. Anyway, but apparently there is a in his name is, if I do not mess it up, Judah Abundi. There is apparently a wanted criminal by the name of Royston McCullough, which, incidentally, I tried to look up a picture of Royston McCullough to see how similar these people look, because there are sometimes people that look like another person. Then there's sometimes where you're just a racist asshole, and you're like, that's a black guy with gray dreads. He must be the guy we're looking for. And it's like, nope. It's a little too general. I mean, I guess big fat gray dreads aren't exactly common, but at the same time, you're a fucking racist. And I couldn't even find a picture of Royston McCullough, because every time I search for Royston McCullough, I just get fucking pictures of Judah Abundi, because people are wanting to talk about how racist UK police are. Anyway, not only did they mislabel this guy, but he is also the race relations advisor for the United Kingdom. So you're being racist against a dude who is trying to fight racism. Good job. 2 thumbs up for you. He got tased in the face last year because people thought that he was Royston McCullough. Well, that video went everywhere. And now Judah Abundi, who still is doing his job, still lives in the same place, has endured like consistent racism now, like just blatantly so, instead of people that are just like mistakenly racist. Like he was hounded down the street by two cops that were laughing the entire time, asking him to be like, "Hey, Royston, hey, Royston, is that you, Roy? Hey, buddy," and followed him into a convenience store, continuing to try and get him to respond to the name Royston McCullough. And then we're like, right, sorry, it's just you, Mr. Abundi, and then left. Like, they already knew that it was him. They're just being dickweeds. Fuck you guys. I like how much news you can just respond to with just like, man, fuck you guys. All of it. You can just respond to everything almost with just like, God, you guys suck. Of course, and trying everything is, oh God, why does the charger have to be so far away? Sitting over here. We use a tablet to do the soundboard stuff, all of this.
3.
And, well, of course, you know, literally 16 minutes into the show, it's like, I'm about to die. And I'm like, oh, God. I keep a charger, like, right here. But, of course, it was, you know, spread way the hell over there. Anyway, I'm sorry, Mr. Abundi. I have nothing. People suck. I can own, like, it is very difficult to teach racism out of people. Like, racism, for a very large part of it, is part of your upbringing. And, like, honestly, everyone is racist. It is just a matter of how racist are you? In what way are you racist? Do you recognize it? And what do you do with it? A lot of us have been taught from early ages, and it's not just about like who your parents were. It is literally parts of society that have taught us things like stereotypes and to be concerned about one individual more than another. But it is a matter of being able to understand and recognize that and not let it affect your judgment of people, because if they didn't fit this thing that you were taught, you wouldn't treat them differently. And that's a problem. And unfortunately, like, it's really difficult to teach out of people. And it's something that largely people have to take the initiative on their own. And so the only thing that I believe that we can really hope for, which unfortunately much goes in the same way as everything else, whether it's your government that you want changed, or, you know, the injustices against any group of people, whether it's women or people of color or people from the LGBTQ plus community. It's not so much that we're going, I don't believe that we realistically can expect the people that are, you know, ages 60 and up, and even some people that are below that age range, to be able to adjust their lives in such a way that they will be able to treat people normally. And instead, I really, as much as it sucks, it's like, all right, well, the beliefs and lives of old will need to fade away and, you know, die. And then the more progressive, understanding, accepting minds of our younger generations will be the ones that are able to fully realize a world that is not so fucking racist or just straight up discriminatory. I hope. Anyway. Well, speaking of racism, apparently it's alive and well in the fucking state of Vermont.
7.
The first black woman legislator in Vermont resigns after white supremacists threaten safety of her family. You see, people fucking suck. Or I've not been saying who these are submitted by, because normally Nathan does, though. Does those. It's listed in the link. You guys can see it. All right. Anyway. So, one, just a quick personal apology and reach out to Kaya Morris, who is the first ever black woman to serve in Vermont state legislature. She was first elected in 2014, won her re-election bid in 2016, and was expected to run again this year in 2018, especially since she would be unopposed. But she has decided that she's going to withdraw because in the last couple of years, Surprise, surprise. She has seen an increased level of death threats. Her house has been vandalized. There have been people protesting outside of her house to the point that her and her family have had to move. She, while struggled with, was able to push past the racism encountered online because they're not in your face. Those are people that are hiding behind computer screens. It is another thing when you have these angry white guys at your house yelling about how much they hate you, how terrible of a person they believe that you are. And so she is refusing to stand in front of that anymore, which, is also what they wanted. But at the same time, I cannot leave you any fault for taking that stance, because as much as people are like, you should have held your ground like Rosa Parks or Martin Luther King Jr. Like, Martin Luther King Jr. got fucking shot, and Rosa Parks was berated by the shit. So, it's not easy to be the person standing tall and proud for what you want when there is a crowd of people that is just the most vitriolic individuals that have formed a mob yelling at you about how fucking awful you are. Like, I do not fault people for not being able to be the person that stands in front of that and just stands there and takes it. Because the people that can do that are the exception. They are the people that are understanding of the position that they are in and how much it is going to continue to affect them. It's not something that just everyone can do. And so I don't hold any ill will for Kai. Like, we would love to see her hold her ground for the sake of being able to push past this. But the world's a dangerous place right now. Well, it always has been. But people are getting, it feels like people are getting so much more violent. Like, because there's such a great tension, especially across America right now, which, I mean, if you want to say it's the presidency or what, I don't know. But the amount of tension's the best word I got, is concerning. Like, we would like to believe that it wouldn't happen, but I can also see literally this person being lynched. As terrible as that would be, I can see it happening right now, which is not something that we should be able to say. So I don't blame them for wanting to back down and seek safety in their own life and their own happiness because, well, yeah. And the thing that people are pointing out is that this seems odd for Vermont. Vermont was the first state to abolish slavery. It was also the first state to recognize same-sex civil marriages. And so they're like, it's a very progressive heritage. But if we want to bring this whole racial thing back into question, Vermont is 94.4% white. And white supremacy apparently has been significantly on the rise in Vermont, to the point that neo-Nazi flags have been flying at state college campuses. So while they are progressive in one fashion, it does not necessarily mean that overall they are making progress as a group of people, which sucks. So anyway, moving right along, other things involving world and crime.
6.
But let's go ahead and take a step out of the United States, head to our friendly northern neighbors, to Canada. Canada is to pardon 500,000 people who have minor cannabis convictions. Process will waive the $631 fee and eliminate the 5 to 10 year wait time. And this goes up and down and is being discussed all over the place right now, because so one of the things that me and Nathan have talked about before is whether we believe, if marijuana is legalized, if people should be forgiven for their marijuana-related criminal charges. And it's an interesting conversation of like, well, cannabis was legal 100 years ago. It was made illegal because of the pharmaceutical company didn't want to, they wanted to be able to not monopolize, capitalize on pharmaceuticals. and that's not as easy to do with marijuana. At least it wasn't 100 years ago. Everyone is pretty much starting to agree that it's not a big deal. And then the other part of that conversation is like, yeah, but you still did something illegal when it was illegal. Like, everyone agrees that it's not that big of a deal now. You still knew it was against the rules then. And laws are dictated by society. If the law changes, that doesn't change that you broke the law beforehand. So what Canada is looking to do is a criminal pardon. This is not an expungement. It does not remove the crime from your record. It is still listed on your criminal record. The difference is that you kind of have like two lists on your criminal record. You have like your actual crimes and then like other, and it puts it into this other box. You would still have to mark that you were convicted of a criminal crime on like housing things or employment documents, but it wouldn't be a crime that's held against you in the actual courts anymore. It would just be like, when something was illegal, he did something wrong, but it's kind of like a footnote almost of like, this happened. So like you wouldn't have to serve, if you were in prison, you wouldn't have to serve prison. You'd be, taken out of prison, you'd be released back, all of that stuff. It would just still be on your paperwork of like, this happened. And so the problem that people are having with that, like, I think that's a great solution, because it does mark like, yes, you broke the law when you know it was illegal, but we're not going to hold that against you. If other people do, well, other people fucking suck, as we've already just got done talking about over the last couple of topics. But and people are looking for an expungement of, you never broke the law, it never happened, we will destroy all government records that you ever did anything wrong, which I have a more difficult time agreeing with. This pardon idea, I think, is fine. Now, there is one problem that does exist within this that the lawyers themselves are looking at. Especially recently, the vast majority of marijuana-related arrests and convictions are against people that are not as well off, more heavily minorities. And while this process would grant them the pardon, they still have to apply for it. And the vast majority of the people that this is affecting are not in a position to be able to get to the places they need to get to file the paperwork, or have the knowledge to file the paperwork, or know how to file the paperwork in order to get the pardon processed. So, with that in mind, the concern that Canada's legal works are raising is that you are not going to be helping the people that this is intended to help if you make them apply for it. So a lot of them are pushing for the idea of like, if you don't want to do the expungement and you just want to do the criminal pardon, that's fine, but you need to do it as a blanket so that the government itself just goes, wipe, cool, we're done. Because if you make people do it themselves, you will not get the result that you're looking for, which I agree with. Like, it's hard enough to get people to do a lot of things, especially when they're struggling through life for whatever reason, whether they're just trying to find a meal to eat because money is scarce, trying to ask them to take the time to go do something that they don't maybe know how to do in a place where they don't even know where to go to get it done, and you're not providing the information, just saying you can do this now, is a massive hurdle for a lot of them to jump over. So, but tied to the same exact thing, Canada did legalize marijuana. It fully went legal on the 18th, I think, so like 3 days ago. And a couple of things have happened. It doesn't go fully legal in Toronto, Ontario until April, because they have some additional things they want to work out. But since it's legal on a federal level in Canada, if you bring marijuana into the city, they're not going to be concerned about it. They're like, just dispensaries and shops and stuff won't open until April. But Toronto have had to tell fellow Torontians, I don't know, to stop snitching on their neighbors about marijuana. They've received multiple 911 calls that they're like, I smell marijuana coming from our neighbor's house. And they're like, yeah, you probably do. Guess what? It's legal. They probably drove an hour out of town, bought some, and came back. So, also, Parks Canada has said that it is okay to smoke pot on campsites, because when you establish a campsite, that is considered to be your temporary domicile, because currently you cannot use marijuana in Canada in a public area. You can only use it in the safety of your own home, safety and comfort. But because a campsite is legally considered your temporary domicile, you're allowed to smoke while you're camping. Although it's only on your campsite that you have paid for and are resting at. If you are at any of the public areas that are involved with Canadian campsites, no, you can't be doing anything there. Also, you are allowed to consume marijuana on Trans-Canada aircrafts. Now, it has to be a flight that is going from Canada to Canada, because you cannot be taking marijuana across any country lines. That is still illegal even on Canada's level. You cannot take marijuana across country lines. However, and you're not allowed to smoke on planes still. However, you are quite welcome to bring yourself a brownie or a cookie, eat it, and help that take the edge off your flight. So, Canada just being like, go for it, peeps. We done with this shit. Jennifer says, I agree that the government should handle it rather than each person, but also with the possibility of appealing it, that way no one gets missed. Great idea. That works. I'm down for that.
5.
Microsoft co-founder Paul Allen dies of cancer at age 65. He had first resigned from Microsoft back in, what was it, 97? 2009, no, 2009, 1983. Jeez, I'm way farther back than I thought it was. 1983, Paul Allen left Microsoft because he was diagnosed with Hodgkin's lymphoma disease. He managed to beat that disease, but he had started treatment in 2009 for non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, and it ended up, like, while he fought through it for 9 more years, that one ended up getting him. So he is 65 years old. He was the 44th richest person in the world with a value of $20 billion. He was the owner of the Seattle Seahawks as well as the Portland Trail Blazers. He was an electronic guitarist who liked to spend time doing music jams with people like Bono and Mick Jagger. He lived a good life. He lived a good life, but fuck cancer, regardless, all the same. I don't care who cancer takes. Cancer sucks. Like, just fuck cancer. Get that shit out of here. I'm so done with cancer.
4.
United States police officers charged with over 400 rapes that occurred over a 9-year period. Now, you're like, wow, 400, huh? That is not what this article is about. It's not about how large the number is, but actually how small it is. There has been a significant amount of research done about the activities of officers in the United States over the last 15 years. And the problem that they are finding is that our police officers are jerkbags. And not a lot is being done about it. And the problem is that people don't necessarily feel like they can report an officer. For this, it's the same reason that everything else in the Me Too movement is going on, of that people don't believe they will be believed. And that is true on so many levels, of that people feel silenced before they ever got a chance to speak, because they don't feel as though their words will be heard, that their complaints will be acknowledged. Instead, that they will be tried as liars, essentially. And that is even more difficult when the person that you were assaulted by is a police officer, because they're supposed to be the people that keep us safe. So what do you do when the offender is a police officer? That's a scary situation. The officer has a lot of resources on their side, and you necessarily don't. And the other problem is that the victims can be people like suspects. They will assault their own suspects or their own witnesses, their own victims that are already victims of other crimes. And again, these individuals do not feel as though they would be believed or heard, especially if they're a suspect. Like, oh, you're just trying to find an easy way out by making allegations against a cop. Like, no, he's a dirt fucking person. Get him the fuck out of here. And The other problem is that because this keeps happening, because if someone gets away with something, they will believe that they will get away with it again. And then if this bad person says to another bad person, I did this thing and got away with it, that other bad person now will be like, hey, I can probably get away with this too. And then they do it, and then they get away with it. And then they're like, cool. And then it just proceeds to ripple out from there. And that's how you can get like, like, what was it that we were talking about of like an entire friggin' police precinct was just completely corrupt? Like they'd been stealing money and abusing people and covering up murders and stuff. It was, I don't remember where it was anymore, but I know that we reported on it I think it was a few months ago, but time is a absolute blur at this point. And that's how that kind of stuff can happen, to where you just have an entirely evil, corrupt police department from the top to the bottom because they can get away with it. And the problem is that this is a large problem. Now, it's not to say that you shouldn't trust cops, because most cops, we would like to believe, are good people. But there are bad people that are in there, and that's the problem. And that's the problem that we have across the board, no matter what you're looking at. But the difference is that if it's a stranger, you don't know anything about this stranger, but the police uniform is supposed to be a symbol of security and safety. And so that's what they're supposed to be. But we have this level of fear now in the United States that completely destroys that image. And like, it's not even like falsified. It's legitimate on every level, and that sucks. And I don't know what the answer is, what the solution is, besides, holy shit, people, stop being shitty. So, but the problem is that there have been 400 charges between 2005 and 2013, which is an average of 45 a year. And the actual number they're guessing is in the tens of thousands because of how few people will speak out, which is depressing. Very, very depressing. All right. This next one, we are just going to... I'm not reading each of these individual titles because there's like 9 of them. So give me a second.
3.
So we're going to be talking about Jamal Khashoggi. That is the once Saudi journalist that fled the country over safety concerns, became a United States citizen, and was recently revealed to be murdered while in the Saudi consulate in Istanbul, Turkey. Now, we talked about this once before, but just in case, and also so that I can keep my thoughts straight, we are going to cover the entirety of this from beginning to end. Now, I'm going to summarize it. I'm going to oversimplify it. There are so many things happening here. But if you want the nitty-gritty, there are piles of links in our show notes, which are linked in the description. You can click on those, read all of these articles. They will feed to other articles. There are hundreds of articles about what's happening right now. So, as I already said, Jamal Khashoggi was a journalist in Saudi Arabia that spoke out against the state because Saudi Arabia is still a shit-tastic place. In the interest of his own safety, he fled the country, fled to the United States, became a United States citizen. At a certain point, he was ready to divorce his Saudi Arabian wife, and he went to the Saudi consulate in Istanbul, Turkey, to get the paperwork in order to confirm that divorce. His fiance, or at the time, was waiting in a car outside the consulate. He's like, hey, wait here. I'm going to go in. I'm going to get the paperwork. We'll come back out. He never came back out. In fact, he was brutally murdered and dismembered within minutes of stepping in to the consulate. Turkey claims to have video evidence. We have recorded evidence. We have audio evidence of basically what happened. Basically, he walks in to the consulate's office. He gets attacked. We don't know to what level he was tortured while he was alive, but there is documentation that his fingers were removed, that he was tortured, brutally beat, cut, and then ultimately beheaded. They believe his body has been dumped in a forest about 10 miles north of Istanbul, because after that same day that he did not come back out, large containers were placed into 2 black cars that drove towards that forest out of town, that left the Saudi consulate. So they're currently searching that forest for his body. Originally, Saudi Arabia denied it, said that he left the consulate. They have since flopped that. Ultimately, now they are landing on a point where they have said that he died after a fight broke out in the consulate. They are also claiming that it was a fist fight, but that said, if he died in a fist fight, where's everything else? Where's the body? What happened? What ultimately happened is now the question that is being posed. Now, if you do not know, a consulate in a country is, while it is, like, for instance, this Saudi Arabian consulate in Turkey is technically considered Saudi territory. So, despite it being in the country of Turkey, Turkey security officials can't just walk in and ask questions. You have to have very specific approval, documentation, etc. to walk into an embassy. And so with that, there was a long approval process for them to get the documentation they needed to conduct an investigation. They did finally get it. Hilariously, though, because hours before the investigation was approved and they were allowed in there, a massive delivery of cleaning products, including like scrubbers, bleach, rags, all kinds of stuff, were delivered to the Saudi consulate. So that doesn't look good. They went in and conducted the investigation. They did find signs of a struggle, of the murder. They did not find any signs of the body, and they are still trying to figure out what exactly happened. Now, Saudi has since admitted, as I mentioned, to him being killed. Although the only thing they have said is that he was unfortunately killed during a fist fight, which nobody believes. They have fired a couple of their high-ranking officials. 18 people are currently being investigated by Saudi Arabia themselves, because Saudi Arabia is receiving a massive amount of worldwide criticism over this matter. Now, the Saudi consul himself has been fired and placed under investigation because a recording has broke out of him saying, "Do this outside, you're going to get me into trouble," because they were torturing Mr. Khashoggi in his office. One of the best suspects for the torture, dismemberment, murder, etc., has suspiciously died in the last couple of days in a car accident. So Saudi Arabia is trying to do the best they can to own up to this to a level while also keeping the ultimate details of it covered up. But they are already receiving a large amount of criticism around the country. Australia has completely pulled out of any agreement that they had with the Saudi summit over the Khashoggi's death. There are several countries that are no longer going to be doing several businesses that are no longer going to be doing business with Saudi Arabia over this entire ordeal. Now, the eyes currently are on President of the United States, Donald Trump, because he has not been one of the more critical parties. In fact, a large portion of the United States leadership has not been critical of Saudi Arabia's actions in this entire ordeal. In fact, a final interview with Jamal Khashoggi that was conducted just a couple of days before he went to the consulate has been released, and he was talking about the criticisms of both Saudi Arabia as well as the United States. And he said that Bernie Sanders is the only person that would be willing to step up to Saudi Arabia. Now, why is that? A lot of people are pointing to personal financial transactions between the president and Saudi Arabia. He sold a boat to them in like '93. He sold an entire floor of Trump Tower to Saudis. But the real thing that I do believe is the topic to touch on is that Saudi Arabia annually purchases $110 billion from the United States in weaponry, in arms, however you want to describe them. And that is one of the things that Donald Trump has personally talked about a few times, is how much money Saudi Arabia gives to the United States. And if they don't give the money to the United States, they will instead just purchase their arms and weaponry from countries like Russia or China, and he doesn't believe that'd be very good for us. So he is not, no, he has not said this, but it is easy to interpret that he is not willing to hold Saudi Arabia accountable for this because of the money that they put into the United States, because that's ultimately what he cares about. He cares about his personal appearance and the money's bottom line. Those are the two biggest things that he is concerned about. So that's where we are at currently. The investigation is still ongoing. They're still trying to find the body. We're still trying to get more information out of Saudi Arabia because they know more than anyone else does, which is shitty. We're trying to find out what information Turkey will release, because Turkey did claim that they have video evidence of the murder itself. And we have additional members of the Trump administration in question, because Jared Kushner, winner, winner, chicken dinner, is now being not necessarily investigated, but is being questioned by administrative officials because he's been communicating with Saudi Arabian Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman through private encrypted channels like WhatsApp. And there's no way to get those communications. So, what about his emails? What about their emails? Private communication channels encrypted that no one can get access to. Don't worry, though. Emails. God damn it.
2.
Sorry for the info dump. I like, that's the best that I was able to do with that, because otherwise I could have spent like an hour explaining every last little trivial piece of information on that. And I don't feel like that's necessarily what you guys want, but I do think it was extremely important that we shared that information to you, because that's a really big factor of what's happening on a world scale right now. So, anyway, number 2. A hacker is breaking into people's routers and patching them so that they can't be abused by other hackers. Good old gray hats, people that are doing, you know, like, they're not white hats, because white hats are like good hackers that are trying to, like, you know, like make money by revealing bugs and stuff. This is a guy who's doing bad things for good reasons. So he is a Russian-speaking gray hacker that is reported to be based out of Russia, who goes by the alias Alexei, which is awesome because that is probably a reference to Alexei Navalny, which is the strongest political opponent of Vladimir Putin, who could probably get elected to president if he hadn't been arrested for political discord. And then was afterwards told that he had been arrested for a federal crime and so was no longer allowed to run for office. Good job, Russia. Way to be shitbags. He has already disinfected over 100,000 routers. And what he does is he hacks into the router, adjusts their settings and their privacy settings and all of their security measures, and then pulls out. And then once he does that, he'd probably be able to get back into it because he set it up in such a way. But no one else reasonably will be able to just sign into the router, which enables protection against people that are going to do like, what is the term that I'm looking for? Well, I'll think about it while I drink some water. Okay. People will like to hack into your routers for things like crypto jacking, because cryptocurrency, while its entire popularity has died down considerably, people will want to jack into your router to essentially mine some cryptocurrency. It's also can be used to scrub data, you find your information, etc., etc. So he's just going through and implementing protections that we should all have already, which is great. Congratulations, you're an awesome person. We appreciate you. Thank you so much.
1.
You want to talk about some bittersweet news? For the first time in 25 years, New York City didn't have a single shooting over the weekend. Now, I'm going to take a quick little asterisk to this. New York City did not have a single reported shooting over the weekend for the first time in 25 years. A city with 8.6 million people has reportedly not had a shooting for 3 days. Now, they have had incredible efforts recently in New York to try and improve the level of security in the city. So a big thank you is going out to the New York Police Department. If this holds up, awesome. But I mean, like I said, this feels so bittersweet. Like it's like, yay! Oh, that makes me sad on so many other levels. But hopefully, this trend does continue, and hopefully, it is actually that nobody has been shot for 3 days. Instead, no one was discovered to have been shot in 3 days. So yeah, but apparently across the entire city and across the entire spectrum, crime in New York City has been on a decline, which is great. Good job, New York. New York, New York. Power to you. I hope that you continue on this trend, on this path, and can improve your city to a point that it is not so shitty. as like a backhanded slap that was. Yeah, good work, and I hope you can continue to improve and do better, as we all should do. What did I care about in the last week? I cared about I cared about me. Yeah, I cared about me. And the reason that I say that, on Thursday, I went to my optometrist, and I have now been approved to go ahead and get LASIK surgery. I will be able to get eye corrective surgery. I have been wearing glasses for almost 20 years at this point, almost 20. And my eyesight is really bad. Like, I have I'm not legally blind, but damn is my eyesight bad. So if you understand what eye prescriptions are, I will tell you what mine is real quick. My right eye is a -6, and my left eye is a -5. So they bad. And so with that, I am going to, I did some research, and I am going to travel because it's fucking expensive in Alaska. Like, I can literally save around $3,000 to $4,000. Then this includes the cost of airfare by just traveling to the lower 48. So I will most likely be traveling next month, which will probably mean we will miss a show or two. Actually, I think it'll only be one show that we will miss, and even then it's a maybe. But I will be traveling most likely in November. I will be going to get corrective surgery, in which I'll no longer have these glasses, which incidentally, as being somebody who is, a creator online, doing like these video live streams, I have like this YouTube stuff that I'm wanting to start. I am really excited about this because I actually really despise, for those that watch the video, I really despise all the reflection shit on my glasses. I hate it. And so, yeah, I'll be excited to no longer have to wear glasses. It's really exciting for me. I am super stoked for this. It is something that I've wanted a really, really long time. So to finally be approved by my optometrist to be able to go and get the procedure done is awesome. So I'm going to go do that next month. Most likely anyway. I don't think that there's any reason that I shouldn't be able to go do it next month. Anyway, and yeah, so I'm super excited about that. Otherwise, I don't know if there's anything else that I cared about enough to actually speak about at this particular matter. I just want to give a quick shout out actually to the derby community, roller derby. I'm an announcer for roller derby in the state of Alaska. I just announced a game last night for the team here in Anchorage, Rage City, as well as the Sockeye Sallies. I also, Jennifer Cruz, who you've seen on the show a lot of times, she is my fiance. She is a member of the Boomtown Roller Derby that is out of Wasilla, Alaska, and they're incredible people. Really, I really just want to encourage everyone to just take a look at roller derby. It's a really incredible sport with a lot of really incredible people in it. It's still a growing sport that needs a lot of support, especially because they are struggling to get recognized on the level that most of our other sports are. And it's such an important sport because it is so empowering for the women involved, where so many other sports are either such men's sports, things like football and baseball and basketball. Sure, things like the NWNBA, no, NW National Women's Basketball Association, I can't actually speak letters, exist. They are still nowhere near as popular or as recognized as the NBA itself. And so, and also like sports like volleyball, while predominantly women are also overly sexualized by a lot of the mainstream. So when it comes to that, roller derby is such an empowering sport, and I encourage as many people as possible to, even if just go watch a game. Just go watch it and see if it's something that you are interested in continuing to support, because I love it. It's an awesome sport. It's intense. It's fun, and I have met thousands of people now that are connected to the sport, and they're all such awesome people because they're just trying to improve themselves, improve their sport, and improve the community. And so that is the other thing that I cared about is roller derby. Go and just check it out. Otherwise, though, we will be back next week. Maybe I won't be alone next week. If I am, well, hopefully you guys don't hate me too much. I would ask you to consider supporting this show, though. We thank you to our patrons that we already have. Thank you so much. You have helped us immensely. You have enabled me to get a new computer so that the entire stream and stuff actually holds up well. Thank you to... What the hell was that? Anyway, thank you to... Well, I completely lost what I was doing. Thank you to you've enabled us to get better sound equipment. We've been able to get Nathan a new computer, so his computer will turn on and isn't a piece of shit. So thank you to our patrons. If you would like to become one, patreon.com/dailyinternet. Thank you so much to everyone that supports us on there. Another way you can support us financially is by buying merchandise from us. If you would like to get yourself a shirt, we have our logo shirt. We have the Sucks to Suck shirt. We have the I Didn't Vote For You shirt. We have the Puns Are Us shirt. I will make more when I stop being me. I hate graphics design. I really do. I don't like doing it. I always feel like everything's wrong and looks like shit. And even people are like, that looks awesome. Like, it looks like shit. Yeah. So I'll work on another shirt and getting another shirt available to you guys as soon as I can. But damn it. Anyway, also, if you are unable to support us financially, I completely understand. Money and times are hard right now. There are so many other ways you can help us out. Follow us and share us on social media. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, Reddit. We are on all of those. All of those we are at iRedditcast. If you can share us anywhere and everywhere, get us in front of some more eyeballs, get us into some more ears, we would appreciate that immensely. You can also help us naturally be discovered by other people by leaving us reviews, preferably, if you believe we deserve it, 5-star reviews on our audio-only platforms such as iTunes, Stitcher, and Google Play, and anywhere else that podcasts are found. If you want to keep up with what I'm doing, I'm at Schwan Michael. Nathan is at Bimmenstein when he is normally here. And that's it, everybody. That is your 521st dose of the internet. I am Michael Schwan, and please remember, everybody.
Well, I didn't vote for you.
Goodbye.